Hey there, everybody. It's Bill McDonald, and welcome to Common Sense with Dr. Bill, where we try to use common sense and the five senses to make sense out of the most difficult math problems in every single grade level, one grade level at a time, and in 10 minutes or less. This problem that we're going to look at today was from last year in sixth grade. It got the second lowest score in terms of percent correct across Texas. And I think because it was open-ended, it was sort of like a grid response where the students had to enter it into what resembles a calculator. They did what I call the haves instead of the have-nots. If the question asks you for the not, you have to make sure you do the opposite of what you normally would. So let me show you a way to help students with a question like this so that they won't have the struggles that the sixth graders did. Uh, and again, like I mentioned, for all of you who are signed up for the math in person trainings, I'm going to be making tests. Finished the third grade already, and I'm working on fourth through ninth. And I'll be making them of the most difficult questions, but I think for now, I want to make sure that I show you how to help students with some of these most difficult problems because I think let's let's fill in the gaps, the holes from last year before we try to start with new year concepts because the kids only got 12% correct on this question uh, in April in sixth grade. That means they went into seventh grade not understanding how to do a have and have not problem. So as we see here, uh, we can notice that the question starts with out of 850 people, keywords in an art museum, 32%, 32% percent, 32 out of 100, they had a pass. That was something. So what I did was I did a little uh, T-chart here so that I can transition between the haves and the haves not. And so I drew a little head. Sometimes drawing a picture is going to help the kids. So I have people either with or without passes. And so the the idea of the head is whatever we're talking about, we're doing a compare and a contrast. And so I made the top part into a T-chart. They said how many have one. So uh, we don't know how many out of the 850 they're asking about yet, but we will once we read the question. How many of the people, how many, a number, did not have the pass? Okay, so that's another number out of every 100. So it would be another percent. So what I recommend that you do here is make sure that your students have the side, and because they're asking for the did not, they need to make sure that they focus on that side and remember what I was saying that um, when you follow the yellow brick road, we have to make sure we know that answer. And so I'm going to use my place value chart in the fractions, decimals, percents, 32%. So if I have the number 32% of 800 people, they did have that. So I can immediately move uh, the whole number to the fraction would be 32 out of 100. And we could also say 32%. Now, the simplest way to change a percent to a decimal is to think there's two little zeros there in percent, percent. So you would just move it back two places. So that means that 32 zero and 32 hundredths of the people had the pass. And so what I'd recommend that you do instead of what many of the kids did is multi-step the problem, what you can do first is just say, okay, well, I already know that it's 32 out of every 100. So what would be an easier thing is have your kids subtract the 32% out of the 100 to see what's left. And so the difference would be this percent, 32%, 32 hundredths have a pass, and 68% or 0 and 68 hundredths do not have the pass. And so that way, instead of doing this step on the left side, where they do the 30% and they come up with 272, a lot of students probably just stopped there, even though that's on the left side of the T chart where the people who have the pass. And so remember the reading, the understanding the question, the labeling, and this year we're going to call the label the lined and blank e-log that the students need to demonstrate for you math teachers their thought process so that you can know what they were thinking as they went through the work. And so for all the kids in Texas who did that, they either entered the 272 or they didn't know how to convert a percent to a decimal. And then they would have had to do this extra step of subtracting the 850 minus the 272 that did have a pass to find the 578 that didn't. Or they could have done like I said and just subtract. We can say the halves and based on percent per 100, 100 minus the 32% that didn't have it would be 68. And so this way, I only have to do one step to arrive at the 578 people, and 850 times 68 tenths. And so real quick, I'll show you a little Spider-Woman, Spider-Man strategy that I teach the kids that I work with, that um, Spider-Woman goes first. And because a lot of kids struggle with even simple 2-digit multiplication, they climb that first building. Sorry, climb that first building down here. 8 times 0, 0. Climb back down the building, climb the next building. 8 times 5 is 40, carry the 4. 64 plus 4 is 68. Um, and there's no place for the 6 to stay, so it comes back down. Then you can play what I call tick, tack, and toe, where you cross off your carries. Cross off Spider-Woman because Spider-Man's turn, and superheroes are always right-handed, so they move, they climb to the right first. 6 times 0. I already have my tick-tack, so the 6 is in the tens place, so I start my multiplication of the numbers in the tens place. 6 times 0 is 0. 6, climb back down the building, climb the next building. 6 times 5 is 30, which is there. Carry the 3. 6 times 8 is 48, plus the 3 that you had left is 51. And then so you have 0, 0. 8 and 0 is 8. 6 and 1 is 7. 5 and 1 is 5. And so when you move the decimal 1, 2 places here, that 850, you might make sure your kids know that it's 850 and nothing else. And here it's 0 and 68 hundredths. And so 578 people did not have a pass. And so they would enter the 5. I'm placing numbers so your kids can show you what order they're going to put it. Then they would click a 7, and finally they would click on the 8, and they would push submit. And so when I flip my chart over down to 4 seconds, so I've got to hurry. Now that I've got my answer, taking that shortcut, once I've searched for errors because I checked it both ways. I can submit my final answer into the computer, and I would have a lot more than 12% of the kids getting it right if they know how to compare and contrast the haves from the haves nots. So that's my idea on this one for sixth grade. Uh, I will do one for each grade level each day for you guys while I'm working on the practice test for third through ninth grade algebra. You guys take care. I do want to see some of you at my in-person math trainings this spring. Go ahead and email me at writing_doctor@yahoo.com or bmcdonald124@gmail.com. Uh, I'd also love to come and work with your students while you observe, because I think that's the most practical thing. That a lot of times teachers go to our training and they see some strategies, but they don't feel like it's applicable or practical or student friendly. Well, when I get to come work with your students, you don't have to hire a sub. And so I get to be there with you. And so I have a different rate for that. So, and I do have a special price for all of you who are doing the in-person trainings. You get a discount of the in-person campus and district trainings where I work with teachers, where I work with students while teachers observe. So feel free to share or tag one of your math teacher friends for this sixth grade video. Uh, it was basically a two-step problem. So you either had to either multiply and then subtract the difference, or you could have subtracted the difference between the two percentages first, and then just had to multiply one time, which I think would have saved the problem of students a lot of problems, because they would have already been on the right side of the uh, teeter-totter transition T-chart, that compare and contrast. So that's my idea. Hope you like it. You take care and have a blessed day.